This is a presentation over the Naïve Beliefs on Addiction study that was conducted in Dr. Patrick Carroll's lab over the past school year. I, Covee Haney, was the main student working on the project under Dr. Carroll's supervision. I also had help from my lab mates in gathering materials, collecting participants, and conducting the study. So the purpose of the study was to determine if there is a correlation between the endorsement of the incremental or entity views on the given personality traits and the endorsement of the choice or disease model of addiction. The diagram below shows the trait beliefs that we tested in comparison to the beliefs on addiction and treatment attitudes. So our hypotheses. First, we predicted that the greater endorsement of the incremental model would predict a greater endorsement of the choice model, and that the greater endorsement of the entity model would predict a greater endorsement of the disease model. And secondly, we predicted that a greater endorsement of the choice model would predict more favorable attitudes towards treatment. So the reason that we lined up our second hypothesis as we did was to be consistent with our first hypothesis, which states that if the choice model were to fall in line with the incremental view, then addiction would be seen as malleable, and then change and progress would be likely with treatment. And likewise, if the disease model were to fall in line with the entity view, that would suggest that addiction is something that is based on biology, which is fixed and unchangeable according to the entity view, and that would suggest that treatment will not be successful. So our participants, we had a total of 77 participants in this study. We had students with an average age of 19, ranging from 18 to 25. We had 25 male students, 31 female students, and the incentive to participate in this study was extra credit from their professors. So materials and procedures. We used a 6-point Likert scale to measure the following. First, we used 4 measures of Naïve's theories by Dweck. We used her personality scale, the intelligence scale, the morality scale, and the willpower scale. And those were to measure people's incremental and entity views on those 4 traits. And then we used Shaler's addiction belief scale to get an idea of people's beliefs on addiction as either a disease or a choice. And then the last bullet is a scale that we came up with in the lab, which measures attitudes and intentions towards a treatment of addiction, and measures perceived efficacy of treatment. And then that is on this slide right here. It's a total of 5 questions. We pretty much just ask how effective they see treatment, how confident they are that treatment programs work, do they favor funding, and then how likely would they recommend treatment programs for themselves or a loved one if they were succumbed to addiction. Here's our results. Our strongest results were between the willpower scale and then the treatment attitudes question number 3, which asks specifically about favor and funding treatment programs. It had a negative correlation of 0.223. I have that circled in red, and that correlation pretty much states that the more you see willpower as a limited trait, which falls under the entity model, the more likely you are to support funding for treatment programs. And that has a significance of 0.025 that is circled in blue below. Here's our results continued. Here is a regression model. Here, and I have the significance circled in blue. It is 0.054. It's not statistically significant, but it is coming close. Discussion. So this study suggests that greater endorsement of the belief that willpower is a limited trait, which falls under entity theory, the more likely one would support funding for addiction treatment programs. This is consistent with the work of Weiner, Graham, and Chandler from 1982, which states that negative events, when they're considered to be uncontrollable, they create emotions of pity. However, whenever the event is considered controllable, it creates emotions of anger. And this explains why those who feel addiction is a choice tend to be more hostile and less supportive of addiction treatment programs. This is my bibliography, and I appreciate you for watching. Thank you.